It's behind the scenes at the Hanover Theater, and now your host, Lisa Condit, joins us. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning, Hank. Great to be here. Thanks for having me, as always. Before we get started on our show, I just wanted to add to the thoughts and memory of Charlotte Klein. You know, I met Charlotte and Ben before the theater opened. She booked the theater for the performances for the Charlotte Klein dance recitals before we even opened. She and her husband were such great supporters, and my daughter took dance from her because, let me tell you, as a business person and as a humanitarian, she was amazing. She knew every single family that danced at her centers, and she knew everybody's name, and she kept track of every student's progress. So she will surely be missed, and it's amazing to me the legacy her family is carrying on. You know, obviously her granddaughter winning The Voice, and her daughter runs a great dance studio on the West Coast as well. So our thoughts go out to Ben and the whole Charlotte Klein family, too. So that's one thing, and I wanted to say that because we, as an organization, have been reaching out, I think I had mentioned this before, to all of our subscribers and Flex package holders, and it has been an unbelievable experience for us.
I bet it has been an unbelievable experience for you. You know what? I was just thinking about you and you're being a dancer.
Wow, was it so riveting? I lost you. Whoops.
No.
Sorry about that.
I was kind of thinking about you and you're being a dancer and Charlotte Klein.
Yeah.
And I mean, listen. So I was not a dancer and I did not go, but I mean, it did just mean so much to so many people. And then I was thinking about it. Yeah, I bet you are getting inundated with questions and people talking about their flex packs and everything else. But I do love also the fact that everybody is there and supporting the Hanover Theater, and people are, sticking with it. And hey, great, you announced all those wonderful Broadway shows, and people are buying.
100%. And, Troy, especially, all of the people at the Hanover Theater and Conservatory, we're very aware that there are a lot of people who are wondering where the money's going to come for their rent or for groceries. And so it is so amazing that in a time like this, we are getting the support that we are getting from our patrons. And, think about it. We went out this year with a new program where we were asking our 7-show subscribers to go ahead and renew without knowing a single show that was coming. And that's because, as a business model, that's what we need to do. This is such an unusual time period, though, because obviously things are changing every day. Dates are changing. Our season now isn't starting in Broadway, anyway, until January. That gives us more time again, and it allows us to reach out to everybody. So, yeah, a lot of our subscribers, especially, and our loyalists, are in that very dangerous zone where their immune systems are potentially compromised or they're older, and we have to be really careful, And we talked about this last week, I'm sure, about, what is it going to take for people to feel comfortable coming back to the main stage? And the truth is we don't know yet. Nobody knows yet. And I don't think that this is necessarily the right time to ask that question because we don't know the facts. As we get closer to the end of the summer, midsummer, we'll know more about the specifics. But we definitely remain committed to making sure that it's healthy and safe for everyone. And,
Well, I do think that's it. And actually,
it means that we might not be opening until it really is safe.
Just to jump in on that a little bit. See, I am of the opinion, and I'll make it specific to the Hanover, but I think that this is any business that somebody knows and frequents. So I trust the Hanover Theater. So I will go back when you tell me. So my question is not so much like I'm going to call up and say, hey, I want to know. What cleaning company did you have? What methods did they use? Are you guys? I'm going to just assume that the Hanover Theater or other businesses that I know and I know the people behind them have done all of that. because I trust the Hanover Theater. Listen, our best defense is that it's in your best interest that when I come back, everything is safe and everything runs smoothly, because of course you want it to. So when the Hanover Theater tells me that we're putting on the show and here's opening night, I think people are going to be there, and I think it's because we trust. I mean, at some point, I think there's a couple things. We know that everything has to open back up at some point, and we trust the people at the businesses that we have always been going to, that we have supported, and certainly that is the Hanover Theater. So I really have a good feeling about opening back up and seeing people coming out for the Broadway series or any of the other events.
I have a good feeling about that as well. But I do think that, especially if you're older and you're really worried about the fact that you're in a more susceptible age group, then I can understand not wanting to blindly sign up for the season ahead. I'm just putting it out there that I can understand that.
Yeah.
So, many of our people are saying, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to commit to that. And even if I don't personally feel like I'm going to go in January, I'll send somebody else in my place. But, the other piece of it is, because our season has changed so much, we're going to be talking about subscriptions for a much longer period of time, because we're not even announcing the 7th show until August. And usually, what the big challenge was 4 months ago was, how are we going to sell subscriptions when we will not have announced one of the shows and we need to go on single ticket sales with the first show? So by, the other side of the coin is we've bought ourselves some time for the people who really want to know what the shows are before they commit their dollars.
Exactly. This really is some behind the scenes, by the way, at the Hanover Theater. This is a little bit about how these things get done. And I would like, to have you, now that you have announced, what is some of that feedback? Because now, as you're pointing out, some people bought, and you buy without knowing what the shows are. Now people are going to be buying, and they do know what at least 5 of the shows are that you announced here a couple of weeks ago. And just, how's that reaction been?
So I'm glad you asked, because the reaction has been really strong. We do have a couple of shows that we've announced that are repeats for us, but they're the classics like Cats. And the fact is that Cats has been totally reimagined by the choreographer of Hamilton. So it's a fresh new approach, and if you like Cats, I think we joked about this before, if you like Cats, you like Cats, and you're going to go back to see Cats again. If you don't like Cats, then you're going to, as a 7-show subscriber, be able to opt out of that show now, and that's a new thing with all of the uncertainty that we've been able to add in as a subscription benefit. You can exchange out of Cats into one of the other shows. And another show that we're excited to have back again is Blue Man Group, because I love the tagline, still blue, all new, the rest is all new, because Blue Man Group is one of those really interesting performance art experiences that maybe you've been to Boston to see it, maybe you haven't, but every time you go, it is different. So people are excited about the things that I personally, from a marketing perspective, was honestly just a little worried about, because if we have our subscribers who have been with us from the very beginning, then they've already seen those shows. And that's the other thing that's interesting about theater, is that people who love musicals and theater, they will often, if they like something, go back again and then bring other people with them. So the response has been very good as far as those 2 shows, and especially with our new benefit of being able to exchange not just into another performance, but another show within the series. So then they could, exchange from Blue Man Group into, let's say, the band's visit. So, the interesting thing about our market, too, is that people are always excited about the titles that they recognize. And I think we touched on Jimmy Buffett's Escape to Margaritaville last time. Fun, upbeat, new Broadway show. If you like the music of Jimmy Buffett, which most people in our area do, then it's just a great escape and a feel-good, fun musical. So that's really fun, and people seem excited about that. And the band's visit, the funny thing about the band's visit is this is a musical that won 10 Tony Awards, including Best Musical. So this is by far the best award-winning new tour we could possibly be bringing into Worcester, right? And so what's interesting is it's an award-winning show, it's critically acclaimed, it's a fresh new story, but many people haven't heard of the band's visit. Like, have you heard of the band's visit, Hank?
Well, I have, mostly because I had wanted to see it and didn't get the chance. So out of the five that you announced, that was the one that I was the most excited about, because we had talked, my family had talked about seeing it, and then we didn't. So I'm jazzed that it's coming. Mostly because I watch the Tony Awards every year, so I had heard of it at least. Yes.
It's an interesting story. It's an interesting story. First of all, it's about an Israeli community, and it's, the band's visit. They're a surprise visit that kind of crashes a birthday party for this woman, and it takes an inside look into issues that have finally bubbled up in her relationships and her marriage, and it's just, it's a Tony and Grammy winning score, which is a really great thing for us to be able to bring to Worcester. And then we, of course, have Mean Girls, and people are very interested in Mean Girls. It's a two-sided coin, though, because Mean Girls, if you only know about Mean Girls from the movie, you're probably wondering, like, how on earth is that going to be entertaining for an adult rather than a teenager? But, I was lucky enough to hear Tina Fey talk about Mean Girls and the score and the musical and the issues behind the musical and the real attention to bullying, the real attention to what's going on in female the psyche and maturity of what happens in that high school tribe. And it really does bring the whole audience in, so there's a transformation, which is really what it's about, from going from the bully to the non-bully. So people seem to be very excited. I know when we announce our 6th show, people are going to be thrilled, because that's another show that many people were looking forward to seeing. It got canceled. I don't want to say anything else for the spoiler alert there, because I don't want to jinx our ability to announce that in July, but we're planning to do that. And then the one in August is so hot, especially if you like disco music, and it is a fresh new musical. So the feedback has been great as far as the shows go. I think people's main concern is, okay, so what's the plan if you can't open in January? What's the plan if, and you can go down the most commonly asked questions there. And
is that
go
what?
ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and so some of the most commonly asked questions, I'm sure, are questions that really don't have an answer, because they are just this litany of what ifs. Well, we don't know. I mean, it could be. We all have our fingers crossed that October is fine. Our 4 phases of reopening in the state all go well. That October doesn't see a resurgence. But we don't know. So there is still some uncertainty. So that must make it hard when you're getting some of these frequently asked questions.
It does, but like always, transparency, honesty, waiting until we have the right answer, and you're right, we will do the right thing. The other questions that we are getting a lot of have to do with that timing and, when are we going to allow people to pick the shows that they want and not subscribe to all 7? So I can answer that pretty easily, and that's changed since we started planning for this 4 months ago. But you can rest assured that we are going to sit with the 7 shows as a subscription series, and the first show will not likely go on single ticket sale until October or November. And in between that time is when we'll have the flex packages available for people. And I'd say the hardest conversations I've had have been with the people who have subscribed maybe as a 5-show subscriber for the last 10 years, and all of a sudden they're thinking, what do you mean I'm not going to be able to have that same seat every year and I have to subscribe to all 7 in order to save that seat? So that is an area where we have had a lot of discussion about how do we honor that loyalty and it's important to us. And this group of those Flex package holders, but they've been long-term subscribers, we're working on a very specific way to take care of them with their Flex packages before, again, tickets go on sale to members and the public later on in the fall, after we're done with the subscription campaign. So this has been an amazing opportunity for us to really connect with our customers. And again, I just, on behalf of the whole organization, we're so grateful for people's support and generosity. It's been amazing.
Yeah, that is fantastic. So you're getting all these questions from the customers, obviously. How about from promoters? How about from the colleges? Because you do so much work. It's the venue that people come to put on their shows.
Well, interesting, because I had a call yesterday with the United States Air Force Band, and they are looking to come to our venue in October. And it was a virtual conversation, and this is the United States Air Force Band. Of course they're going to pay attention to the rules, right? Yeah. And of course they're going to do the right thing and what's safe, but they are fully intending to come to the theater October 21st. We haven't announced that anywhere yet. But what was interesting is it was a virtual call, and then I took them on a virtual tour of the theater. So without coming to the building beforehand, they could see the stage, they could see the loading dock, they could look at the orchestra, and they've scaled down the number of people that they're going to have. And there's definitely the conversation about social distancing. Same day, or maybe it was the day before, I'm the one that got to receive the behind-the-scenes magazines that we have 140,000 of them sitting on our stage right now, ready for us to distribute to all the different towns and people who receive those. And the truck driver who came for the first delivery, I thought it was very telling, because he's like, "Oh, so what's going on here? What are you doing here? What's going on?" I'm like, "Well, we're a performing arts center and conservatory, so obviously we don't have any shows happening at this exact moment, but we have online classes, and the fact is we still have to plan for our future." So our job right now is to connect with our community and our patrons and make sure that everybody knows what we are planning to do, and that we're going to be safe, and we're going to make sure we're taking care of our loyal people. And it's a very interesting time, Hank.
Oh, no doubt about that. Let me pick up a little bit on that, on what you just said as well. So you're still busy. I mean, you're obviously, even from what you just said, in the online classes. How is that going? What's been the reception there?
You want to know something? Our education department, and there's a whole article about our online classes, and that is available on our website, just in case anybody wants to read that or look forward to the magazine. How has the reception been? I think that, I know that there are people who really appreciate the routine in their day. And there was a lot of question about how in what's typically a hands-on environment are we going to be able to effectively do this digitally and online. So our education department took the lead on training for Zoom instruction. They had practice classes, so that by the time we went to our students and the online classes, the majority of our students have found that fulfilling and rewarding, and have actually asked for online classes in the summer, which is one of the reasons why we're asking for that. That's not to say that there aren't people who the online educational tool, it's not quite right for their learning style, but in general, people are excited to have not just, especially for our young dancers, not just the physical training, but the emotional support that the conservatory really offers to its students and staff. I went to I finally got my hair colored yesterday. The women listening will appreciate that. And even my stylist was saying, this is a social business. It's hard not to be able to interact with people. And that's what we've all been missing, is we've been missing the interaction, we've been missing the fun, we've been missing the energy, and so we're looking forward to being able to reconnect with that. And that online class environment has been really, really important to several many of our students and certainly our instructors and the families of our students.
Yeah, absolutely. That does kind of bring us full circle in that I do also really think that people, because we crave that, but we're social animals. I mean, mankind is meant to be connected. That is why I think that we will be coming back, and when the theater opens, we'll be ready to come back. You mentioned that you've got 140,000 behind the scenes magazines sitting on the stage. I thought you were going to say, hey, they're in my garage. Can people come help me or whatever? But they're on the stage.
Oh my God!
So that's good. So people.
Wait, Hank!
Yes.
I want to let you know that
Yes.
I have actually had like 100,000 of them delivered to my barn at one point. So you're not too far off, but thank God, no.
Not this.
To the stage.
Not this time. Very good. I guess two things. One is if there's somebody who doesn't get behind the scenes and is listening to the show and says, well, geez, that sounds like something I would like to get. How can they get one of those 140,000? And the other is, give us a little bit of a sneak preview. What else is in this issue of Behind the Scenes magazine?
Well, actually, I think that people are going to be very interested in this one because it really takes you through, obviously, online learning in the arts, and it has some very specific examples and, the zoom shot of how that looks in its environment. And then we have a conversation with Troy. The listeners to this show, they've heard Troy talk before, but we have an article, The Show Must Go On, a conversation with Troy Siebels, right next to the upcoming Broadway Music and More schedule. Starting with Jazz at Sunset. We're still hoping for Jazz at Sunset, outdoor, socially distanced and appropriate and all the rest. Still trying to explore that. We also, talk about our youth acting company and that new opportunity. What does that mean? And then we take a deeper dive into Blue Man Group and Escape to Margaritaville. We have Andy Blackenbuehler. He is the choreographer for Cats and who also is a Hamilton choreographer. We have a little behind-the-scenes story with him. Also, the playwright for In the Band, the band's visit, how he felt like, strangers tell the truth, and that's a big theme for the band's visit. A little bit about Mean Girls and Jazz at Sunset. Sarah Brightman. We've got some good stuff, but really, we acknowledge, we're grateful, and we're thankful.
Yeah, jam-packed. All right, people want to keep up with the Hanover Theater. Best way really is to go to the website. It still is being, there's constantly new things on there and interesting things for people to be able to see and do.
Absolutely, and if anybody wants to follow us on social media, we have online contests and promotions. We just launched, posting a shaker of salt. Like, Hank, do you have any shakers of salt at home that you want to take a picture and post them for your chance to win Escape to Margaritaville tickets? So we're still doing engaging and fun content, and we will continue to do that until we open our doors. You can sign up for our online newsletter on our website, thehanovertheater.org. It's right at the top right-hand corner. Follow us on social. Interact with us. You can email me, Lisa, at thehanovertheater.org. I do get a lot of emails. I try to return them all. It might take longer for some than others, but I do get back to people. So those are all
Wonderful.
great ways for people to stay in touch.
Absolutely. I will enter that contest. I'm still obviously looking for my lost shaker of salt, but as soon as I find it, I will absolutely enter it.
Do you have it? Take a picture.
There you go. I will absolutely enter it. Lisa, thank you so much. Terrific behind the scenes, bringing us all up to date on all the wonderful things that are still happening at the Hanover Theater.
Thank you. Talk to you next week.
Behind the scenes at the Hanover Theater with Lisa Condon. I'm Hank Stoltz. Much more to come here this morning. As a matter of fact, what we're going to do, Ben, I believe, is we're going to bring folks last week's episode Behind the Scenes. A previous episode of Behind the Scenes is coming up with Lisa Condon, and that is straight ahead right here on the Radio Worcester Network. Hey, make sure that you're tuning into all of our shows, keeping up with us. Thank you to everybody who is listening online. That is certainly one of our growing areas. And, of course, thanks to all of our great partners, including the wonderful folks at AM 830 WCRN and all the help and the work that they have given us, particularly this week and since we've made our move to our new studio, because we are indeed coming to you from the Junction, just a stone's throw from the new Polar Park. It's Talk of the Commonwealth on the Radio Worcester Network.